Welcome back to another Sunday prep day. If you're new here, every Sunday I prep for the week. So that means cutting all my vegetables and making things that take a bit longer. So today I'm going to make a butternut squash soup. So then other weeks I'll do things like soups, stews, stocks, sauces, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to start by cutting up an onion for my butternut squash soup. And I'll go over the menu for this week. So today for lunch, I'm going to have some sandwiches with some pastrami and some lettuce. And then for dinner tonight, I'm going to have some cauliflower and or some broccoli with some chicken thighs and some potato wedges. I'm just putting this onion in this big container because this is where I'm going to gather all my soup ingredients. I'm going to take a smaller container and I'm going to cut another onion, and that is for some other meals. So that was Sunday. Monday, meatless Monday. For lunch, I'm going to do the butternut squash soup. So I'm just going to prepare that today, and then tomorrow just need to warm that through. And then for dinner, I'm going to do some couscous salad with some falafel. So couscous salad, that's couscous obviously, got some parsley. I'm going to do some diced peppers, some diced cucumber, probably some lime. And I'll just mix that all together. And for Tuesday, for lunch, I'm going to do more broccoli and or cauliflower. And I'll probably do that with some chicken thighs or chicken breast. And then for dinner, I do Taco Tuesdays. So I'm going to make some quesadillas with some chorizo. By the way, I don't mention breakfast because I don't usually have breakfast if you're new here. So take a few of these cloves and I'll keep them whole. Put that in with the onions for the soup because those don't need to be chopped. Then the rest of these garlic cloves, I'll just give it like a little mince. And then we're on Wednesday for lunch. I'm going to do a low-carb stir-fry with broccoli stems instead of something like rice or noodles to keep it low-carb. And it's also a good way to use up some broccoli stems because it would be a waste to throw them away. And then for dinner, I'm going to do some butternut squash risotto because when I make the soup, I'll have plenty left over. So I'll use that as the base for my risotto. So instead of just using stock, I'll use my butternut squash soup and give it some nice flavor. And I'll probably do that with like a pork chop because that's what I have in the freezer. And then we're on Thursday for lunch, some broccoli with a pork chop. And then for dinner, I'm going to do a wrap with some chicken, some sour cream, some lettuce, some cucumber, etc. And then we're on Friday for lunch. I'm going to do some cauliflower with a whole fish. I have either sea bream or a sea bass in the freezer. I don't remember. But I'll do that whole with some cauliflower. And I know I'm going to do a lot of broccoli and cauliflower this week, but it's the season for it, so it was cheap. I had 2 heads of broccoli in the fridge, like almost a full head of cauliflower, so I'm just working through that. So I'm using it in several meals this week. And then for dinner, I'm going to do some oat rice with some fish skewers. So for the fish skewers, one of the things I'm going to do is take some pieces of pepper in between the piece of fish. So I'm going to cut some of these peppers into like little larger pieces. I'm also going to use this pepper for my stir fry, for my quesadillas, and like I said, for the couscous salad, I need some dices. So I'm gonna clean out all these peppers first, and then I'll cut them in the different shapes. So seeing I have multiple colors, I'm gonna use multiple colors. So for the bigger pieces to go on the skewers, I'll take a bit off of every color to put in between the fish. And then I also need some slices. So I'll slice the remaining of 1/2 of each color. It's orange, red, and I'll do green. And those are for my quesadillas and for my stir fry. And then the remaining halves of each color I'm going to cut into cubes for my couscous salad. Alright, that is peppers done. Then next up I'll have some chilies. Again, I'll use them for my stir fry, for my quesadillas, and I'll throw some in my soup as well, just because I like it a little bit spicy. So I'll just slice all of these. And just for color purposes, for my butternut squash soup, I'm going to use some red. And the rest of the chilies doesn't really matter what color they are. I just like using a variety. And then I have a potato, and that is for tonight to go with the cauliflower and the chicken thighs. And I'll just cut those into wedges, and those can just go in the air fryer for 20 minutes tonight. Then next, I have some celery. Just gonna take the top off. I have 2 stalks here, and I'll just slice them up. I'm gonna puree my soup, so it doesn't need to be super fine, and that can also go in with my soup ingredients. Then next up, carrot. So I need some for my soup. So I'll just take about half of this massive carrot. If you use a regular smaller size carrots, just use like 1 or 2. I'm just gonna slice this up after cutting it in half. So that can go in with my soup ingredients. Then I also want a little bit in my low carb stir fry. So that's probably about enough, so I'll save this for another day. And again, just cut in half. And then I'll cut it in half again to make quarters, because I want it a little bit finer for my stir fry. And I'll slice this up as well. Then for my couscous salad, I need some parsley. So I'm just gonna give that a quick chop. The stems I'll use for the soup. So I'm just gonna leave that whole for now. I don't want to blend that in, because it's a lot of green, and I want my butternut squash soup to be nice and orange. But if I leave it whole like that, I can just fish that out before I puree it. Next up, I have a cucumber, and I'm gonna dice that up for my couscous salad. So I'll just cut in half, slice it long way, and then slice it across for a nice dice. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be super fine. Okay, that is cucumber done. I need some slices for my wraps as well, but that's not going to be until Thursday, and if I slice up the cucumber, it will dry out, so that's the only thing I'm not going to prep today. Then next up, butternut squash. So I'm going to cut this bit off, cut the top off, so it can stand up, and I'll just quickly peel that. And I'm also going to peel the other half. And I'm just going to cut this in chunks. So first I'm going to make big slices. And cut it lengthwise. And then into dices. And I'm not going to put that in with the other soup ingredients just yet because I want to soften those first before I put this in. So I'm going to use a separate container, and I'll do this half as well. And with this bottom half, I'm basically going to do the same thing, but first I'll cut it in half. I'll take a spoon and I'll scoop out the insides with the seeds. You could save the seeds and roast them, but I don't care for them very much, so I'm just going to throw them away. And I'll dice this up as well. Alright, that's the squash done. You can use a pumpkin too if that's what you have. And then the last two things that I need to chop are some cauliflower and some broccoli. So I'm just going to take the florets off. And the bigger pieces I'll just cut into bite-sized pieces. And then the stem of this broccoli I'm going to use for my low-carb stir-fry. So I'm just going to cut it in half. I'm not going to rice it all the way because that's too much effort. I don't mind if it's a little bit chunkier, but I do want it a bit fine. So I'm just going to cut it lengthwise and then across to make nice, fine little pieces. And just the very end bit, that's always the dry, woody part. That's what I'm going to throw away. But the rest is all fair game, and that's a nice way to use it because it tastes nice and has lots of nutrients in it. And then lastly, I have some cauliflower, and again, I'm just going to take some florets off, enough for about 2 portions. Now I feel that's enough broccoli and cauliflower, so I have a little bit of cauliflower left over. If you're not going to use the whole thing, just leave it on the stem because then it'll last a lot longer in the fridge. So we're at 26 minutes and all the chopping is done, so I'm going to put away the things I don't need anymore, and then I'll preheat my Ninja Foodi and we'll start making the soup. So for the soup, I've preheated my Ninja Foodi on saute. I'll just add a little bit of oil, and I'll add in my onion, garlic, celery, chilies, and carrot. I'll add some salt and some pepper, and I'm just going to let that soften. And now that those vegetables have softened, I'm going to add my butternut squash, and I'll just saute those for a few minutes as well. And now that it has softened, I'll add a bit of water. I'll add the parsley stems on top because I want to fish those out later. Put the pressure lid on, and I'll change it to pressure cook. I'll do 30 minutes, and I'll just let that do its thing, and I'll be back when the soup is done. So the soup is done. I took the parsley bunch out, and now I'm just going to use my stick blender and blend that nice and smooth. And that's the butternut squash soup done. I can just warm part of that through for tomorrow, and the rest I'll save for my risotto. And yeah, that's all the prep work done for this week. If you like this kind of content, I do this every single Sunday. And if you'd like to see what I do with all the ingredients that I prepped, you can check out my Instagram, link below, where I post every single meal. Or you can check out the video where I show you everything I eat in a day for a whole week. And I'm actually going to start filming one right after I finish this one. So that'll be coming out on Friday. So leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching. Until next time, bye for now.